our first win of the year at Knockhill a few weeks ago. He's done it again today. Can he make it a double? He starts from the front row, but he's in esteemed company there with number 46. It's Tommy Bridewell. Up in the championship fight with Scott Redding as well. What a front row we've got here. For BSB Race 2, live from Cadwell Park, your commentators James Whittam and Jack Burnacle.
Back in the 60s and 70s, he came here to ride for the Golden Helmet to become the Cadwell Conqueror, would you believe? The Cadwell Conqueror's Golden Helmet. This time, you riding for the Monster Energy King of the Mountain here at Cadwell Park. And at the moment, the man in pole position for that, if not in the race, is the man who won race 1, and that is Danny Buchan. So Buchan very much got something to play for this time. Can he do the double? Scott Redding will be out to stop that. So too will Brooks Bridewell as well. Taron McKenzie will just be happy to get a few points to see if he can even remotely defend that 5th place, though you would think that Andrew Irwin will be a favourite to dislodge him. Although Irwin will run well early in the first race, and then a mistake dropped him back to 9th, and he wasn't able to improve on that. But Danny Buchan on the front row of the grid, Tommy Bridewell on pole position with Scott Redding between them. Now Scott says that he struggles, James, to get that Ducati off the line, and that's he knows that might well that's what hampered him in the first race, and getting a bit swamped into the first turn.
That's what happened. He got it off the line not that well, like you say, but he lost more time at turn 1 and turn 2, and just got beaten up a little bit. And I think just because he's a novice at this track.
Number 21, Christian Idden, very unlucky to slip from 4th to 6th on the penultimate lap of race 1. Tommy Bridewell on pole position, surprised himself there. Scott Redding, a brilliant 2nd place on the grid. Danny Buchan, race winner in race 1 on the front row. 2nd row headed by Josh Brooks, 2nd in race 1 from Peter Hickman and Christian Idden. Dan Linfoot, after that unfortunate fall in race 1, is in 7th place. He'd already got that lap in. Glenn Irwin 8th, 9th for Jason O'Halloran. And row 4 features Luke Stapleford. Luke going about his business very neatly on Build Base Suzuki, ahead of Ryan Vickers into the top 10 in race 1, and Andrew Irwin. Behind them, Gino Rea, Hector Barbara, Dean Harrison are on the next row. So this is going to be a critical start here. It's Bennett's British Superbike race 2, and what a start from Danny Buchan as well as Tommy Bridewell and Christian Idden up the inside on the Tyco BMW, but then gets squeezed out. And I think that's Jason O'Halloran Shuley who's got well and truly squeezed out, and it is time an identikit copy of what happened to Josh Elliott in the first race, and he gets squeezed onto the grass but manages to keep it upright at a hair-raising speed. Josh Elliott said he was scared stiff when
the speed, that's 140, 150 miles an hour. But, and on grass, wet grass, I don't envy him at all.
Bridewell, Brooks, Buchan, Hickman, Idden, Linfoot, there's your top 6 as they come, just tearing round the Chris curve. Billy McConnell there right at the back, deputising on OMG Suzuki for the injured Luke Mossey. Oh, and a big wide line there at the bottom by Tommy Bridewell, kind of sucked the 2nd place man in, really.
Yeah, it doesn't want to panic now, Tommy. Easy to panic when you get leading and try and push on a little bit too much, make a few mistakes. Easy to do around here, he's making mistakes.
Oh, listen to the noise of that Ducati bellowing from almost beneath the trees as they skip through Hall Bends.
That's like it's a stereo Ducati noise, is that?
It is, yes, that's what makes it so good. Incidentally, look, FS3 Racing there in 3rd place. Danny Buchan, first race winners. Good start for Hickman. Hickman in 4th place at a track that he does love. So Hickman 4th, 5th for Idden, 6th for Linfoot, 7th for Ryan Vickers. What a getaway for the young man from Thetford on the red, white and blue RAF Regular Reserve bike, ahead of Andy Irwin in 8th. Scott Redding 9th, again suffering on the initial stages. And there's Christian Idden right behind Hickman. So as they drop down then, what I was going to mention was, look how black the side of the fairing is of the FS. Oh, and that was a big move by Christian Idden at Park Curve. A brave one considering what happened to him. There's 2 down. Andy Irwin's one.
And that's
Scott
Redding.
Redding and Irwin, and Redding's furious. And Andy Owen is trying to calm him down, but Scott Redding's absolutely livid. They have, of course, got a wee bit of history from Silverstone at the opening round of the series, but Scott Redding furious. Well, I don't know, I hope we got something to tell us what happened there.
Well, but, you've got to assume from what's happening there that it is that it was Andy Irwin's fault. I mean, that corner is absolutely perfect for a lunge up the inside that you don't even know is going to go wrong till it does.
And an incensed Scott Redding then marches off and, refuses to be placated.
The only good news for Redding is that if you are able to remonstrate like that and, you know, almost get yourself into a fist fight and are prepared to do that, there's probably not a lot wrong with you physically after the crash.
No, it didn't look like there's anything wrong with the chap. Now, though, look at this. The man who's after capturing more precious podium points and really cloaking the gap on him is his teammate Josh Brooks, right there in second place. Ahead of him, Tommy Bridewell. I wonder if Bridewell's not felt comfortable on the bike all weekend. Perhaps, James, they've tried a few alterations and they're working, because he's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, that team never stopped working. It's a really savvy, it's not the biggest team, but it's a really kind of compact.
Oh, Hickman, sorry James, big moment as he came out of Park cost him time. Beg your pardon. So it's a good team. Yeah,
it's a really good team. They're really savvy and they won't stop working. But it was going well enough was Bridewell in the first race. There's no way he'd make some massive changes, because he could be making your bike worse. It was good enough in race one. In fact, fastest lap. So there isn't a lot wrong with it.
No. And you notice that he's slightly opened up a gap. There's Ryan Vickers ahead of Glenn Irwin. There's number 6, Xavi Forrest. Now Forrest is running inside the top 10, and of course he needs points in his attempt to get into that, or get back into that top 6. Dean Harrison, great start for him in 11th place ahead of McConnell and Gino Rea. Look at the championship right now. Brooks overtakes Redding right where he is. Bridewell 248, Buchan is 4th, Mackenzie 5th, Andy Irwin in 6th, Hickman a point behind in 7th, and Xavi Forrest moving into the picture in 8th.
Yeah, that's an important mistake, disastrous mistake for Andy Irwin. That he needed the points.
So there is and look at this once again, a replay of race 1, James. It's Danny Buchan haranguing Josh Brooks, this time for 2nd and 3rd rather than 1st and 2nd places. Christian Inn, incidentally, going into Park Corner there. What happened to him on the penultimate lap of the first race was he said, I always have it in 4th gear and then I hook it into 3rd as I go into Park Corner, and it hit neutral.
Yeah.
And I just had nowhere to. It put me off onto the grass as I came out of the corner.
Yeah, no, he said it jumped out of gear going up the gearbox, which was really unusual.
Oh, sorry.
He said.
I beg your pardon. He was hiking it up. I beg your pardon.
So and that is unusual. Normally it goes into the gear going up really easily. It's going down the gearbox when it tends to push out.
So there's Josh Brooks. Right behind him is Danny Buchan. We don't quite know what happened between Redding and Andy Irwin, but it's obviously something that I'm sure that Scott Redding will let us know in certain terms.
I'm fairly certain he will. Well, he was letting us know already that he didn't think it was his fault. We haven't seen it yet.
Oh, these guys are really on the edge of the game, aren't they? They're terrific racing.
That's the idea, Jack.
Fastest lap of the race on the last lap was Christian Inn, 126.9. That's just been eclipsed by Buchan, 126.89. Hickman, Linfoot, Vickers 7th on bike number 7. Glenn Irwin 8th. Forrest 9th. Stapleford top 10 ahead of Harrison McConnell. Gino Rea looking for more points on the MB Augusta on his debut. Hector Barbara getting to grips with this place. The former World Championship runner-up in 14th ahead of Taron McKenzie, Ben Curry, and Bradley Ray has broken through to 17th, having been compelled to start from last place on the grid.
Yeah, I thought if everything goes well for Brad Ray, there's a chance of a maybe 12 to 13, something like that.
So as they storm downhill again, Danny Buchan looking threatening and sitting right on Josh Brooks's back wheel. Brooks was very gracious in defeat after the first race. Really acknowledged how well that Buchan had ridden.
But Josh always is. He'll always admit when if he thinks somebody's gone better than him, or if he's made a mistake. He's quite an honest lad.
Peter Hickman closing the gap on Christian Inn. We're on the 5th lap of 18.
Well, this is if he can make that place, he's into the showdown.
Yes.
So he needs it.
think Evans have got a carrot to chase there.
I won't say any more about it, except he's normally quite a safe rider. That's all I'll say.
So across the line then, they go. Last lap, Bridewell, fastest lap of the race. 1:26.5 against 26.7s for his pursuers. A 27.5 and a 27.2 for Eden and Hickman. 28.0 for Linfoot. And Gino Rea has just slowed up, and now
there's something wrong. Yeah, he's indicating there's something wrong.
James, how great a debut was that in the first race?
Yep.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and an impressive showing not just for Gino, but for the Bike Devil MV as well. You know, it obviously is a reasonable bike.
There's Hector Barbara, and behind him you can see Mackenzie with Bradley Ray, the distinctive figure of Bradley Ray. Look at the body language of Brad Ray as he tries to squeeze through there. Meanwhile, McConnell chasing Dean Harrison. There's some guys having good rides round here. These are the front three.
Yeah,
and then Hickman right with Eden now.
Yeah, I tell you, he's having a good ride. Bridewell, I mean, I know that's obvious when he's leading it.
Yes, but look at that lap.
No mistakes, fast lap times. You know, he's not getting away because the rest are going slow. He's getting away because he's going quick.
So in fact, on a 1:26.5, by 0.4 of a second, that's the fastest lap of the day in the races.
Yeah.
So on the 6th lap of 18 then, we're just about to complete 1/3 race distance with Bridewell, Brooks and Buchan the front three. Eden in 4th place for Tycho, Smith's right behind him, Hickman, and then Linfoot. Now Linfoot I didn't see in the distance. Linfoot's gone down 2 places, and Linfoot's in trouble.
Yeah,
has he run on?
He's run on, I think. Coming out the hairpin, that'd be. Yeah, he's gone straight on at the hairpin, look.
Oh, Danny boy. This is such an enthusiast that the past fortnight, Dan Linfoot has been on a road trip with his dad through France, Switzerland, Germany, all the way to the Austrian MotoGP at the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, on bike.
And back again, on bikes.
On bikes, yeah.
His dad likes tourers, and obviously Dan's got the bug as well, so yeah, proper enthusiast. So Linfoot then rejoins. Wow, it's amazing. You know what you said about the punishment doesn't fit the crime round here, James?
Never does. Yeah. And you know, you're saying that, you know, Linfoot's dad is into touring, where you know that a family member, if a lad gets into motorcycle racing, road racing, you can bet a family member, dad, uncle, whoever, is into bikes. That's just how he goes. Rarely does a lad just get out of bed one morning and think, you know what, I'm going to be a bike racer. Maybe they do with other sports, but not. It's always a family link.
This is impressive stuff from these two, kind of. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit cagey, but now is that gap closing a bit? Tommy Bridewell crosses the line. Let's check the lap times. 26.8 against 26.7. They were a whisker quicker on that lap.
Yeah, and I think Brooks has got going a little bit here. However, yeah, Brooks has got going. Yeah.
Buchan's trying to go with him. Glenn Irwin's moved past Ryan Vickers, so Glenn Irwin goes 6th. 7th place. Oh, there's Will from the Oxford Racing Ducati box. Thoughtful looking professor.
Yeah, we're just a little bit nervous. His man's out front.
Stapleford Forest, Dean Harrison, 10th. Dean Harrison, top 10. That is really a brilliant ride for the Silicon Engineering lad.
Yeah, this is a lot of pressure for Tommy Bridewell now leading. He's led a race or two this year, never won one, and well, not this year at least. So he's in kind of not unknown territory, but certainly unfamiliar, and pressure comes with that, especially at a circuit like Cadwell with its intricacies, that where you can make a tiny mistake, run on the grass or whatever. You know, it's a difficult place to be leading it when you're not used to it.
Actually, Christian Iden is probably enjoying the company, because he was saying, replicating something that you said earlier, James, earlier this afternoon, about it's quite hard to maintain consistent lap times running it on your own.
Yeah, it is.
Having a lonely race.
Yeah, this is one of the places where you can benefit from somebody in front of you. Not so much to chase, but just to gauge yourself off where they're braking, where they turn, and it just gives you something to focus on.
Back in 2014, when he finished 3rd overall in the British Superbike Series, Tommy Bridewell won here, his first ever victory in British Superbikes, James. So he's no stranger to A, leading it, B, doing rather well round it.
Yeah, but not for a while, though, is what I'm saying. You know, he's out of the habit, as it were.
Yeah. Beautiful work by these two, the Tyco and Smith's BMWs. Remember those BMWs, they've still got these beautiful, the stock engines are so good, they're running this strongly with the stock engines still. Oh, now Brooks is on the move and that hunt has begun.
Yeah,
Josh fancies the idea, you know, of being the king of the mountain.
Yeah, Brooks' last couple of laps are a 26.7, so that's within a whisker of what Bridewell's done. Not just quite as quick, but 2 or 3 of them together, and that's what's brought him back into sight.
If you're alongside that straight, that is such a pickup of speed as you come off the mountain. It's thrilling to watch.
The thing is, you're really close to it as well, like you are a lot of places around Cadwell. You're really close to where the bikes are coming past, so the lateral speed is immense.
And as they come scorching out of the final bend, then let's check out lap times this time. They're completing lap 9 of 18, 27.0, 26.89 and a 26.83 for Danny Buchan on number 83. So they have edged in on the race leader. Iden and Hickman cross the line. Glenn Irwin crosses the line ahead of Ryan Vickers. Irwin are doing a 27.9. Stapleford, Forrest 9th. McConnell now 10th ahead of Barber in 11th. Brad Ray up to 12th place. Dino Harrison drops to 13th. So Bradley Ray is already just at half race distance reached the place you expected that he would. James.
Yeah, he's going to be in the top 10, isn't he?
Looking very possible. He's lapping 128.6. Having said that, that same lap time by Hector Barbara really getting to grips with this circuit ahead of him.
You've got to think that Brad Ray's in traffic. He's passing people the whole time, so...
Oh, Halloran's in 20th place. Oh, of course, he ran off. Bless him, right at the start. Big time.
I wondered, you're supposed to regain the track where you left the track, and there's no way you could have done that, because that would have entailed a full U-turn on grass and then going downhill on wet grass towards the oncoming traffic. So he must have got back on the straight there.
Notice the very black fairing on the FS3 Kawasaki James. Any prospective team sponsors who would like to step forward to back them, they haven't got one, which is why that's a very dark fairing, very dark and unmarked fairing.
Yeah, no title sponsor,
So Tommy Bridewell then leading the way, but just beginning to feel the squeeze now from Josh Brooks, and the Australian from the Sydney suburbs is really pressing the Oxford Racing Ducati now, and he'll be able to, I bet, presumably Tommy will be able to hear that Ducati, especially on the overrun, a bit like an old school CCM motocrosser. Yeah,
you definitely, you'd hear your rival coming when your throttle is closed into the corners when they're that close, but the best bikes to hear behind you were the V-twin Ducatis, because they shifted so much more air, big pistons, so you got that big booming kind of airbox drum kind of sound to them.
Oh, no, there really is nothing in it. We're on the 11th lap of 18. This is proper superbike racing here at Cadwell Park in absolutely immaculate conditions after the threatening skies of earlier today.
Yeah, Tommy Bridewell, a really popular lad, a bit quirky, a bit funny, really nice, and that's why he's so popular. Lots of fans out there for Tommy. It'd be a popular win, would this? Speaking too soon, obviously, but...
yeah, I was going to say, looking at 11th lap of 18, so we're about to hit 2/3 race distance. And these guys are they're absolutely nailed together on... it was Buchan who did a 27.2 there. He actually clawed a bit of distance back. So as they go sweeping out into the country once again here at Cadwell Park, is Brooks thinking about a pass? Is he thinking that he can get close enough on the brakes here? Yeah,
he looked like he was making a huge effort out of Charlie's there to give him this chance, which he's got it. Tommy turns it tight, will he get back up the inside? No. That's the classic park corner switchback. Normally going in there faster than your rival, if he's going as quick as you on a lap time, normally pushes you a little bit wide and gives them something of a chance to get back up the inside before Chris's curve.
But if you can make it work, as Brooks did then, it gives you rather a sweet line into Chris's curve, doesn't it? You can't really swoop into it.
Yeah, from that wide line,
So Brooks now drops, and we know that Brooks is such an impressive leader of a race. He can really set a pace and stick to it lap on lap, which Tommy was, of course, doing. I mean, that's...
there's nothing wrong. Tommy took fastest lap after fastest lap in. You know, he wasn't Wasn't like he was lost at the front.
So Brooks then, having finished second in race 1, takes the lead of race 2 on lap 12, and as he completes that lap, 2/3 race distance, the BY's Ducati crosses the line in 1:26.93. Wow, that was a lap. Christian Iden still hanging on to that 4th place in front of Peter Hickman, the two BMWs running nose to tail.
Yeah.
And then another BMW in 6th, of course, Glenn Irwin enjoying his time at Tyco BMW. Ryan Vickers 7th, Luke Stapleford having a fine ride for Bill Bass Suzuki in 8th.
Yeah, Glenn Irwin in 6th there, already getting on with the BM better than he has all year on the Kawasaki.
And we've heard that Andrew Irwin has tweeted an apology to Scott Redding, so we may not have seen the evidence of what happened, but obviously Andrew knows where the blame might lie.
I've got to say, an apology for something like that is always better face to face, but he did try that. And it didn't seem to work at that point when the flood was up.
At the moment we're looking at, this is Xavi Forres with, look at that, with a typical Billy McConnell squirting his big Suzuki round Chris Kerr. Right now looking at there's a live championship position, 271 to Brooks. What would be more important would be 5 podium points for him. 2nd Redding, 3rd Bridewell, Buchan 191, Mackenzie 150, Irwin 146, just a point ahead of Hickman on 145.
Hickman, if he knows that, and knowing Hickman, he probably will, he'll be desperate to get past Iden to get that 6 in the championship. That
number 6, Xavi Forres, the Spaniard, needs to hang on to this place if he can. Billy McConnell then, hounding the red, white and blue Honda. Right behind him, he's an Englishman in a Spanish sandwich, isn't he? With the Barbara just behind him, looking good on the JG Speedway Quattro plant bike. And Bradley Ray right behind the two of them in 12th place, and then Mackenzie, Dean Harrison 14th, 15th place for Josh Elliott. Josh Elliott moves through. And Andy Irwin has it's a very simple tweet, just said, "I'm so sorry," at Scott Redding and PVM Racing. And you could see how apologetic the lad was as Scott kept on. Scott didn't know whether to hit him or walk off. It was kind of a mixture of the two. He kept coming and going, bristling.
Just angry. I mean, and he would be. I mean, fortunately for Scott, he's still going to be in the showdown. It's not going to affect his championship too much. You know, if he thought he could have got some podium points here, well, maybe there's a little bit more reason to be angry. But would he have done? Probably not, I think.
From where he was in the race, it would have been a big ask, wouldn't it? Although he did get quicker as he went on.
Yeah, he did,
in the first place, but still only ended up in 4th place as a result of Iden's mistake.
Yeah.
So Brooks, Bridewell, Buchan again crossed the line with 127 flat against a 126.991. So, and a 127.1. But I get the impression that Danny's just kind of hanging on by his fingernails a little bit here to the Ducati.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'd say exactly that.
On lap 15 of 18, Iden still engaged with Hickman in that battle for 4th place. Glenn Irwin pretty much on his own now, about a 2.5 ahead of Ryan Vickers. Luke Stapleford is next up. He is very much on his own. And then that battle, Forrest, McConnell, Barbara, Ray locked together.
I wonder if Hickman does know what the position is championship-wise. I mean, he's going to try and pass Iden anyway.
Yeah,
but I wonder if he knows the significance of it. There's Billy having a look at the inside of Xavi Forres.
Good ride for Billy McConnell after a long injury layoff and drastic surgery, and coming back and having a crack on the Superbike at point blank notice.
Yeah, if you don't know, it wasn't a bike accident. It was appendicitis that went wrong. He got some kind of blood infection and had to have all sorts of operations and intravenous antibiotics. And
Bradley Ray there tries to get inside the little tiny figure of Hector Barbara, but can't quite make it stick. He thought about having another lunge into the chicane.
Yeah, so Billy McConnell was really unlucky, actually. It was like the infection that got him, really. And he was bad with it. I mean, he had to have drips and drains and all sorts of stuff. He was walking about with bottles hanging on belts and all sorts of nasty stuff.
And here he is hounding Xavi Forres, and Forres really working hard to try and keep himself in that 9th place.
Yeah, Billy says that he's back to full health, but fitness is a problem because he couldn't train at all to any of that.
No. So meanwhile, Josh Brooks had an advantage of 0.3 of a second. Oh, that isn't 0.3 of a second. And Clark Kerr, Tommy Bridewell, scorching in his rival's wheel tracks. Now, Bridewell wants to win this. Look
they're
at this.
both back into the 26th, and at this stage in the race, that's a lot quicker than race 1 was at this stage.
26.9 apiece on the last lap. So on the 16th lap of 18, with 2.5 laps to sort this out, then Danny Buchan, of course, would be well advised to enjoy that third place rather than wrestle with. Oh, we've got a number 61 course cut, and that's Ben Curry, who was running in 15th place. Jason O'Halloran recovering to 16th, and Linfoot to 17th. And this is where, do you know what it is? The reason that the gap opens up, James, is that the BY's Ducati just seems to be a bit smarter through Hall Bends, the hairpin, and the drop down from Barn, and just opens up that little whisker. P5 plus 6.5. Christian Itten was telling me he gets a lot of information from other people's signals boards.
Yeah, that's right.
He scans them as he goes past, and you can learn a lot from them.
Yeah, as long as you can see somebody's board who's around about you in the race, you can get good info from it. Yeah.
And Hickman hounding him here. This is, of course, I know that Christian thinks that is really luckless first race at Thruxton has cost him very dear when it comes to getting into that top 6. But he's not mathematically out of it yet, so every point will count. At the moment, 4th place. Meanwhile, Tommy Bridewell is definitely on the penultimate lap. Now, this is where you think that the course favours Brooks. He just seems to get that little bit quicker through this tortuous stuff. And as Brooks understandably would like to be king of the mountain because of the fact that he's the Mr. Airtime when it comes to the mountain, especially during the course of practice and qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, it is a completely different thing. If they wanted a proper king of the mountain, they'd have a kind of furthest jumping contest or something.
Yes.
But certainly King of Cadwell, and there was actually a one-off big money non-championship race called the King of Cadwell.
Yes,
at one point.
So we've had the golden helmet conqueror of Cadwell, the King of Cadwell, and now the King of the Mountain. And once again, when we get out into the swoopy stuff, that's when Bridewell on the final lap just seems to squeeze the gap a little bit.
It's not enough,
not enough to attack.
It's going to be a massive lunge from back there, and Tommy is more sensible than that.
As they come braking hard then right at the end of this countryside section. And this will be Peter Hickman trying to line up Christian Itten at the same point, and as they come down into Park Corner, and no, he decides that the BMW's just got the better of him on that particular stretch. And Hickey runs just a bit sluggish coming out there of Park Corner. Now, is anything... has Tommy got something in mind here, or will it just be a spontaneous combustion?
He just hasn't got room to do it. He's nowhere to do it now. He's not close enough for the bottom of the mountain. It's a difficult pass anyway. Hall Bends, that is just brave stuff, and normally goes wrong for one or the other. Or the hairpin, and that's it. And I don't think he's close enough or getting a good enough run through this section.
So this looks like being a 45th race win in his British Superbike career for the 2015 champion. BY's Ducati are going to take the laurels in race 2 of Bennett's British Superbikes here at Cadwell Park. Brilliant Josh Brooks wins it from bright and sparky Tommy Bridewell. All the B's with Danny Buchan in 3rd place. Christian Itten is crucially going to hang on for Tyco BMW to a deserved 4th place this time, ahead of Peter Hickman, Smith's BMW in 5th. Glenn Irwin was just running really strongly. Wilf Moore there gets congratulations, a conciliatory hug really. And Paul Bird there shaking hands. Brad Ray has fallen, I think possibly at the hairpin on Barn on the very last lap. He was straining to get past Hector Barbara, and the bike went down. So really a desperately unlucky day for him. Tommy Bridewell is congratulated by Danny Buchan. Ryan Vickers, number 7 in 7th place.
That's a good run for him. That is a good result.
That is brilliant. Bridewell says, well done, mate, well done. That was a good ride, good race, good tight race. Stableford in 8th. Forrest does cling on to that 9th place. The Monster Energy King of the Mountain is that man, Josh Brooks. The man who, along with Graham Irwin in Stock Thou, has been the big jumper of the mountain during the course of this weekend.
Well, I hope his truck don't get pulled and weighed, because I'll tell you what, that is an heavy trophy. It might just push him over the 7.5 ton limit, that. That's a lump of metal.
So Hector Barber in 11th. Taron McKenzie, hats off to McKenzie with that weakened wrist. He gets 4 vital points with a 12th place finish ahead of Dean Harrison, Jason O'Halloran and Dan Linfoot, who squeeze into the points late on at the expense of Josh Elliott and Sam Coventry. Good ride from Sam Coventry, just shy of the points. And a really unlucky day for Brad Ray. What he needs to do is look at how well he did in qualifying and what promise. Oh, now what? Here's what happened. Oh,
Lost the front. That's lost the front at all bends.
Yeah.
Easy done. Maybe just on the nick a little bit too much and clip the curve, I think.
I think he probably was hoping to have a little lunge at the hairpin. Meanwhile, Danny Buchan hurls a few bits of his apparel into the...
problem with catching Danny Buchan stuff is it ain't going to fit you. It's going to be a tad too big.
There'll be 1 or 2 people in there might be big enough.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, look, there you are. Oh, yes, there you are. Just
look at the size of the glove, though. Look at it.
Yes.
What are we going to do with that, Mum?
Well, you'll have to grow up, son.
You have to do a deal with the guy who got the other glove, wouldn't you?
Yes, you do very well with it, and a great race between these two, Iden and, oh, I beg your pardon, I thought that was Hickman alongside him. It's actually Josh Brooks coming in to take the accolades. So Josh Brooks then up on the pegs to acknowledge the the bad boy from Bringelly on the outskirts of Sydney, the absolute motorcycle enthusiast, comes in to a bit of a hero's welcome because he's rescued the King of the Mountain.
I think he's rescued his season.
He has, yes, yes. Brilliant stuff. 2nd place for Tommy Bridewell after an exceptional ride. Be Wiser Ducati, there won't be Be Wiser Ducati anymore after the end of this season, so new flags will have to be found. Paul Bird there looking satisfied with that. Bridewell, bless him, he's disappointed, he's bitterly disappointed.
You've got to be disappointed with that, but it's been a good weekend for him.
Well,
but you know when you've got the pace, you know you've got the pace to win and you don't win. That's a different thing to scratching his up when you don't expect one.
And that 126.58 lap, tearful Tommy there, because he obviously felt that he was that close within a smidgen of getting a win. But anyway, Bridewell loses it to Josh Brooks, but certainly wins a lot of respect. Danny Buchan, what a day for him. 1-3 for FS3 Racing Kawasaki. Christian Iden and Peter Hickman locked together pretty much throughout that race, finished 4th and 5th. Glenn Irwin for the Tyco BMW, easily his best result of the season for number 2. Ryan Vickers, splendid for RAF regular and reserve Kawasaki, ahead of Luke Stapleford, build-based Suzuki. Xavi Forrest, a rip-snorting run on the Honda Fireblade ahead of OMG Racing Suzuki. Welcome back, Billy McConnell. 11th place for Hector Barbera. Taron McKenzie finds himself unexpectedly 12th, of course, after that very late fall for Bradley Ray. Dean Harrison takes home 3 points for Silicon Engineering ahead of Jason O'Halloran. Dan Linfoot gets a solitary point after being so much on the front foot all weekend. And just outside the points, Josh Elliott, Sam Coventry, David Allingham, Ben Curry and Matt Truelove. The championship standings, remember, it's not so much the championship standings here that will matter for the front two, but the fact that I suspect Josh Brooks is pretty much level now with Scott Redding on the podium credits point. He's 12 points ahead in the championship table. Tommy Bridewell absolutely cemented in 3rd place. There are the podium points. He's now within 2 points of 8. Brooks leads it by 2 points, in fact, from Scott Redding. 18 for Bridewell, 14 for Buchan, 15 McKenzie, 8 for Andrew Irwin, just ahead of Peter Hickman. Xavi Forrest in 8th place is absolutely not out of it yet.